They said it could never happen in America, but it did. The FBI, under the Biden administration, secretly obtained the phone records of 8 sitting Republican senators and a congressman. Not foreign operatives, not shadowy lobbyists, elected lawmakers, the people who write the laws spied on by the very agencies sworn to protect them. And when the documents were finally exposed by Senator Chuck Grassley, the words attached to them were chilling. Arguably worse than Watergate. Yeah, you heard that right. Worse than Watergate. The scandal that forced a president out of office is now the yardstick for what many Republicans claim just happened here. A spy operation targeting the opposition, wrapped in secrecy, dripping with political consequences. And at the center of it all, the FBI, Special Counsel Jack Smith, and a furious Donald Trump. Let's rewind for a moment. The revelation came through Grassley, a Senate veteran who has spent decades rooting out misconduct. He produced a damning document, proof that the FBI collected toll analysis of senators' phones during an investigation codenamed Arctic Frost. Toll analysis doesn't capture conversations word for word, but it's almost as dangerous. It maps who you called, when, how often, how long. In political warfare, that's a gold mine. The stated justification? Alleged election interference tied to 2020. But here's the kicker. The lawmakers never knew their data was pulled. No notice, no oversight, just a silent sweeping grab at some of the highest offices in the land. And then comes the twist. The Arctic Frost probe was later absorbed into the work of Special Counsel Jack Smith, the same Jack Smith now prosecuting Trump. Suddenly, what seemed like an obscure case file is right in the middle of America's biggest political fight. The response was immediate and volcanic. Republicans erupted, demanding hearings, subpoenas, and answers. Who authorized this? Was it FBI Director Christopher Wray at the time? Was the White House in the loop? Was this another chapter in what Trump calls the weaponization of justice? Trump himself didn't hold back. Standing in front of cameras, he tore into Smith, branding him a sleazebag, a man obsessed with destroying him while protecting Biden's allies. And this revelation gave Trump exactly what he wanted, a concrete example he could hold up and say, see, they weren't after criminals, they were after us. Democrats, for their part, didn't rush to defend the FBI. Instead, they shifted focus, arguing Republicans were trying to bury Trump's ongoing cases by creating scandal theater. But the optics are brutal. Documents showing America's top law enforcement agency secretly mapping the private communications of its own senators. The media frenzy exploded. Headlines blared, "Worse than Watergate." Analysts warned of a constitutional crisis. Commentators asked a dangerous question. If the FBI can spy on senators, what's stopping them from doing it to judges, governors, or even ordinary citizens? Inside the Senate, tempers flared. Some Republicans demanded a full-scale investigation into the FBI. Others floated subpoenas for Jack Smith himself. Whispers of defunding parts of DOJ's budget grew louder. Meanwhile, the former FBI leadership found itself in the crosshairs. Christopher Wray, already gone from office, may soon be forced to testify. Was he briefed? Did he sign off? Or was this a rogue unit operating in the shadows? For Democrats, the strategy is delicate. They can't dismiss the documents outright. Grassley's reputation is too strong, the evidence too real. So instead, they frame it as a necessary national security step. But even within their ranks, quiet unease is spreading. Because if the FBI overstepped here, precedent could come back to haunt them. Public reaction? Outrage. Social media ignited with comparisons to Nixon. Calls for accountability thundered across conservative media. Pollsters say trust in the FBI, already shaky, is about to plunge even lower. And in a polarized America, that's not just an agency problem, it's a democracy problem. But here's the part nobody's talking about. What happens if this actually goes forward? If Republicans push this to the edge, hearings, subpoenas, maybe even criminal referrals, then Washington may face a storm unlike anything in decades. So here's the question staring Washington in the face. What happens if Republicans decide to push this scandal all the way to the end? Because let's be clear, this isn't just about a document leak or a political soundbite. This is about the raw architecture of American power. The FBI, under the Biden administration, gathered call data on senators. Now that fact is in the open, and Donald Trump, as sitting president, has seized on it. He's not just angry, he's calculating. He knows this could be his proof, his weapon to dismantle what he calls the deep state once and for all. In Grassley's phrase, worse than Watergate didn't fall flat, it echoed. Nixon lost the presidency for less. If the public sees this as political spying, the trust collapse could be permanent. Think about that. A government that spies on its lawmakers isn't just bending the rules, it's cracking the Constitution. The implications are staggering. First, the constitutional layer. The legislative branch is meant to check the executive. But if the executive branch, through the FBI and DOJ, was monitoring senators' communications, that check is destroyed. It's not oversight anymore. It's surveillance. Second, the political layer. Trump is not a passive player here. He is the president. And every time he repeats the phrase, they spied on senators, it lands harder than when he complained about the Russia hoax years ago. Back then, he was on defense. Now he's on offense. And his supporters see it as vindication. Proof that everything he warned about was real. Third, the institutional fallout. If Wray, Smith, or Biden-era DOJ officials are dragged before Congress, this could unravel into televised hearings that looked like Watergate 2.0, only bigger, meaner, and with far more distrust in the air. And unlike Nixon, who was cornered by a hostile Congress, Trump has allies in both chambers eager to turn this into a reckoning. Let's not forget the historical parallels. Nixon's team broke into the DNC to spy on Democrats. Here, the FBI is accused of spying on Republicans. Nixon tried to cover up. Here, Grassley says the cover-up lasted for years until this doc surfaced. The echo is almost too on the nose. And that's exactly why Worse Than Watergate sticks. Because it's not a partisan nickname. It's a direct historical comparison. So what happens next? There are 3 scenarios, and none of them are calm. Scenario 1, the oversight war. Congressional Republicans launch hearings, subpoena Smith, drag Wray into public testimony. The spectacle dominates primetime news. Trump uses it as proof that his crusade against the weaponized DOJ is righteous. Democrats push back, accusing him of rewriting history. But the damage is done. The public sees chaos, distrust deepens, and faith in government institutions takes another hammer blow. Scenario 2, the legal meltdown. If it's proven the FBI's collection broke the law, lawsuits fly, civil liberties groups join in, judges may demand disclosures, and suddenly it's not just politics, it's criminal liability. That would ignite the mother of all Washington battles, because admitting fault would collapse public confidence. Denying fault would look like a cover-up. Either way, it's toxic. Scenario 3, the political nuclear option. Trump, emboldened, uses this scandal to justify sweeping purges inside DOJ and FBI. He replaces leadership with loyalists, guts oversight mechanisms, and claims he's restoring trust. His opponents scream authoritarian power grab. His base cheers accountability. And America splits further, not just by party, but who you believe is telling the truth. This isn't just about phone records. It's about trust in the architecture of the republic. If lawmakers themselves aren't safe from surveillance, who is? And if one party can wield intelligence tools against the other, what's left of democracy? Trump knows that, his opponents know that, and the media knows that. And that's why this scandal has the power to reshape 2025 politics entirely. Not just as another fight in Washington, but as the battle that defines whether Americans believe their government serves them or spies on them. So here's where we are. The FBI took Republican senators' phone records. Grassley called it worse than Watergate. Trump, as president, is now unleashing hell on Jack Smith and Biden's DOJ for it. And the country stands on the edge of another scandal that could rewrite the rules of power forever.
Think about it. Nixon was forced to resign over one burglary. What happens if a sitting president proves the last administration spied on lawmakers themselves? Do you think this is accountability finally catching up with the so-called deep state? Or is it just another chapter of political theater where both parties weaponize outrage for their own gain? One thing's certain, this story isn't going away. In fact, it's just beginning. So buckle up. And before you go, hit like, share, and subscribe, because trust me, the next revelation will make today look tame.